We've got a lot of ground to cover with the Twins playing yet another spring training game. Alex Kirilloff with a strong afternoon, but the injury bug bites again. With that said, a couple positive injury updates that we're going to break down for you. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. And my haircut brother joining me from the great state of Missouri, Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets. What's up?
Brandon, you got more hairs cut than I did, so you're ahead in the game.
Ahead. Pun maybe intended. I don't know. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, also on YouTube. And again, we are Locked On Podcast Network members, which is your team every day. We appreciate you being in the chat if you're watching us on YouTube, whether it's live on the premiere or watching us after the fact. It's always greatly appreciated. Give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Five time reminds me of Booker T back in the day. But yeah, we appreciate you very, very much. Today, or at least it dropped this morning, is our MLB preview. So if you go to our channel on Locked On Twins or our audio feed for wherever you get your podcasts, you will hear me joining up with 3 of the other team podcasters to talk about the upcoming 2024 AL Central season.
As guess who's missing?
Whoever.
White Sox.
Yeah.
They can't do anything right, which is
Nick
just fine.
Leaving us high and dry. But what a beautiful, bodacious mustache. So we can't be too mad at him. Lots of ground to cover today. We're going to try to get to all of it, but you know how it goes with Dave and me. We don't usually do a good job of that. Twins fall 9-8 to the Nationals. Again, not getting too tied up on results here in spring training, but a couple of positives. Alex Kirilloff, 2 hits. He's hitting .324 with a .375 on base, .595 slugging percentage. Boy, I tell you, the more I think about it, the more excited I am with the idea that that's probably going to be your number 9 hitter, or maybe number 8, but number 9 hitter against righties. That's that could be special.
Well, we'll see how long the Matt Wallner. Can you call it a slump when the season hasn't started yet? Maybe that's not fair.
I don't know. I mean, but part of it too is they don't really want to put AK back in the outfield. Like they said, he's going to be a first baseman moving forward. And again, I know that's more plate appearances, lineup position, and that sort of thing. You're not talking about him moving out there, at least I don't think. But I don't think the book
not yet.
200% closed on that either. With that said, again, if on a Twins team of yore, and by yore I mean hypothetically you, 10 years ago, he would have hit closer to like 4th on this team. So again, speaks to where this team has come to this point. Hard not to be enthused though, wouldn't you say?
Yes, enthused, also relieved, happy for Kirilloff, who needed some good health luck and just a fresh opportunity with his wrist and shoulder and all that stuff to be kind of behind him, knock on wood, and can be something that we haven't seen from him yet. A really good presence from the left side of the plate. It is exciting to have him kind of have a clean runway here as we take off for the season.
What does your gut say about Wallner early in the season if they were to make a change? Because we kind of know Trevor Larnach, whatever he does at St. Paul is going to be kind of secondary because he can hit there. He's an absolute beast at AAA, and he's trying to avoid that dreaded quad A label that has befell so many hitters of his ilk. But
does Brooks Lee have any outfield experience?
No, not to this point, but
yeah,
at some point, I mean, it might not be like the Jason Bartlett experience in left field. Do you remember that?
He was a good shortstop, wasn't he?
Well, so he came back like most great to mediocre Twins. He came back in 2014. It was he and Jason Kubel came back for short one-offs, and Bartlett played left field against Cleveland, and he just absolutely made a meal of a ball in the left field corner. And that left field corner, I mean, I think the wall in Cleveland is trickier than the corner, but I don't know if he turned it into a triple or a double or what, but it was so bad he retired the next day. Or like within the 2 days, they put him on the IL and he's like, "Nah, I'm done." Like, or they put him on the IL. He was about to come back and he's like, "No, I'm finished." It's something like that. Like that was the end of his big league career, just like that.
I'm not sure if that's sad or inspirational that a guy knows when it's time and he commits. I kind of admire it. It's too bad that like his last play, or the one that he's known for, as far as his last play, is something horrendous. That's not great. But if you know your time's up, it's time to go. But to kind of, maybe not Brooks Lee, but the Twins do have other options. I'm not trying to like put the whatever on Wallner. But if he does struggle, and we're talking more than a week, a couple weeks, a month, something like that, they got options. Emmanuel Rodriguez, maybe bring back Larnick. You mentioned Kirilloff with the Carlos Santana on the team. There are things that the Twins could do to make up for that in case Wallner has to go back down or over to St. Paul.
Jason Bartlett is less than a year younger or older than Nelson Cruz. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That spring, he had 46 plate appearances and hit 093. That's a negative 33 weighted runs created plus. So, yeah, sometimes spring training gives you a message that you probably shouldn't ignore. But with guys like Wallner, I don't know. We'll see. Friend of the program, Carson McCusker with a 2-run double. I don't know how much you know about him, but he's like 6'8", absolute beast of a man who they signed out of. It wasn't the top end indie leagues. It was like the Frontier League.
Okay.
And so every time he just mashed, the guys in the group chat would be like, "Wow, this McCusker guy." And I would be like, Frontier League, whatever. He's in A-ball. Let's just see what happens. We don't need to anoint him. And he just kept mashing. And so as kind of a little nod to the boys, I had him on the show, like as a surprise. And he was great. And so I don't know what his future holds, but we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on him. And it was shocking to me that he has not really played any first base, because I always feel like guys like him, Matt Wallner, like those guys are pretty well suited for first base, not just because of their speed or relative lack thereof, but there's got to be some kind of like natural advantage to being a man mountain at first with your catch radius, right?
Yeah, I remember people used to say, complain or sort of shortchange, if you will, Jeff Bagwell, because he wasn't very tall. And like, hey, this guy's going to play first, and he's so short and whatever. And Bagwell, I think he won a couple of Gold Gloves and was a very good
over there, yeah,
very good defensive first baseman. So, but to your point, big target, big stretch, good equalizer, kind of a thing. So and I sort of would have hoped that a guy named McCusker would have played for the Huskers in college, but I don't even know if he went to college.
McCusker the Husker, yeah. I don't remember if I'm trying to think. I think based on his age, he did. I want to say he's like 26 or something now, but that is neither here nor there. I want to remind people too, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's called Locked On Sports Today. And if you are a baseball fan, our season preview, division by division, dropped. So you're going to have to check that out. Can't recommend it enough. We had a lot of fun with the AL Central version. I heard the NL West version got a little spicy. Maybe our friend Javier got in on that. He, as I recall, his Twitter handle is like Javi Peno, like jalapeno. But he's a spicy guy. He's an interesting guy. And I guess Javi Peno, yeah, he is a spicy guy. But I did hear that the NL West one is one you want to check out. We highly encourage that. And we also highly encourage people to check out the Locked On college channels as the NCAA tournament is going on. I caught just a tiny bit of Oregon today. Oregon had a guy go for 40 points as they had one of those like 12-5 upsets, the 12 seed, 5 seed, which is fairly common. So
how'd DePaul do today?
Same as ever, not winning. Let's take a quick break. We got a couple of different people we got to give some love to, give a couple places. When we come back, I want to talk about some injury stuff. You furnished an interesting quote about the bullpen. Greg Masterson, super fan of the show, has a question he wants us to answer. And then a couple different things, including a football score over in Korea, in Seoul, that we'll talk about as well. Nothing else going on with the Dodgers, though. So, we'll talk. Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, let's have a word from Ibata. And it's soup season. It's 20. Oh, my temperature went away here. We do have snow, though. It is snowing in Minnesota right now. What a real shame. I'm guessing it's probably about 25, 26 degrees. And it's chilly. So, well, soup isn't chili, but chili. I don't know if chili is soup. It's like is a hot dog a sandwich. But if it's soup season for you, you can get all the ingredients to master your recipe and get cash back with Ibotta. It's a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. Make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. And it's kind of cool if you have location services on your phone at any given moment. It will tell you like, hey, you're at, like in Minnesota, we have Cub Foods, and it'll be like, hey, you're at Cub. Make sure that you submit your receipt when you're done, and that sort of thing. And so it's kind of cool. And the average Ibata user earns $145 per year. That could cover the cost of a shopping trip, a couple tanks of gas in your car, probably 3 tanks for mine. But anything that you want a couple extra bucks for, it's going to be helpful. Other apps give you points. Doesn't add up to a whole lot. With Ibata and your offers in the app, you get real cash that is sent to your account via PayPal or gift cards. Yeah, send in the money. So right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata. Ibotta, by the way, if you're wondering. You use the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register, and $5 is put in there right away. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. One more time, that's Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. And also Amazon Fire TV. Nope, sorry, excuse me, FanDuel. We've got some FanDuel in our
back it up.
Back it up. We will talk about Amazon Fire TV in our next break. But if your bracket is already busted and it's now officially possible because they've been playing some games, go to FanDuel. FanDuel will take care of you and let you bet on every game of the tourney, whether you want to bet on big upsets, number one seeds. It's time to go dancing with America's number one sportsbook, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet winning. So if you want to take a 16 to lose to a 1 for your first $5 bet and then be bankrolled after that, that's probably what I would do. But it's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines, or you can pick who's going to win it all. Is it going to be UConn, the number one overall seed? I've got Houston. I think Dave's got DePaul. You can do whatever you choose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. All right, Dave, some good news and some not so good news on the injury front. Which one do you want first?
Give me the not so good news.
Brooks Lee, leaving with back spasms. On the chart of injuries, back spasms fairly minor. Now, see, I broke my spine when I was a kid, so when I have back spasms, it's a little different. But when a healthy 23, 24, whatever year old guy has them, not that big of a deal. So not too concerned. He's ticketed for St. Paul, almost certainly. We did talk about it briefly as an option for him to make the team, but this isn't going to affect that one way or the other. I think he was ticketed for St. Paul no matter what.
Yeah. Is this similar to the back spasms that Buxton had? Was that called back spasms? Was it called a sore back? Anyway,
I don't know if it's contagious either. Yawns are contagious and the flu is contagious, with back spasms, I'm less sure about.
Yeah. So no big deal yet, as far as we know. Rocco said we're going to have him checked out. So, on the surface, nothing to get to whatever about with Brooks Lee. So that's not great news, but I'm thinking about putting him in left field now that you mentioned it or I mentioned it. I don't know. That's all I can think about right now.
Well, I think I'd want Larnick out there first, but I'm not opposed to trying something to get Brooks Lee up here because, again, I'm very eager to see what he's capable of. On the good news front, Jorge Alcala's fingertip issues are not due to a fracture, so good news there. Again, not that would be good, but it would certainly be better than a recurrence of the injury that shelved him for the bulk of a season here a couple years ago. And so he looks like he'll probably just need a couple days. Comes at a pretty good time in spring training where he's built up. And at the same time, you can kind of back off a little bit and not really risk if you're going to be ready for opening day. But he's kind of come in and taken the bull by the horns and pretty much guaranteed himself an opening day roster spot, which I didn't necessarily anticipate at the outset.
He's got the kind of stuff, as they say, that, you never know when it's going to click. And it's just possibly a matter of health meeting opportunity. And when you put those things together with his stuff, we see what he's done so far in spring training. I do remember a quote from Rocco maybe a week ago or so. There was an Alkala featurette note or whatever, I think on MLB.com. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that he's going to be a guy that is going to help the Twins a little bit more once he gets into midseason form. So Rocco, while not unimpressed with what he's done so far, said, this guy can be better more than this.
Yep.
So now what's happened since then, of course, they packed an ambulance and a bunch of guys are hurt and not going to start the season healthy. So maybe the Twins are going to have to bite the bullet and say, all right, well, maybe this isn't absolutely the best form that he's going to get all season, but we kind of need him now, so we're going to break camp with him.
The boys were trying to come up with a nickname for Alkala fans and settled on Alkalaholics, and I don't think I really like that.
That's not going to work. Maybe we can do something with alkaline batteries so guys can walk around with battery heads or something. And I'm going to get back to you on this.
I feel like Duracell should sponsor the St. Paul Saints and be like, today's AAA battery is
the AAA battery.
Jeff Brigham pitching to whoever.
Right.
Brain is Jair Camargo, whoever, Chris Williams. But that's just my that's my thing. I also used to say that the Rochester Red Wings, for all-star purposes, because they were the Twins AAA affiliate for a long time. Yeah. I was pretty close with their PR guy. I said you should do hashtag rock the vote, ROC the vote, to get your players voted to the International League All-Star game. It never caught on, but I'm an ideas man. What can I say? You did furnish a quote that our good friend Nick Nelson had shared about something Rocco Baldelli said on Saturday. And I'm going to read the entire quote. Is that okay with you?
Go ahead.
Pete Mackey, in his last pitchers meeting, made the statement to the entire group. There'll be a couple guys in this room who are likely going to throw one inning, but everybody else who is a bullpen arm will have to throw more than one inning. So it's a good statement to give to the group. It's kind of a blanket statement, but it's a useful blanket statement, so it's out there. They've all heard it. Everybody knows. We clearly cannot have 6 one-inning guys in the bullpen, so it comes down to mental preparation for them for what's to come. So there might be a few guys that haven't thrown 2 innings in a while. They're going to have to. You can't get through, forget 162 games. You can't get through 13 games in a row over a decent stretch early in the season without a bunch of guys needing to go at least 2, if not more than 2 innings out of your bullpen, maybe 3 or 4. I like having length in the bullpen in more than one spot. I like having length, and I like having a few guys who can go 2 innings if you need it. Some years we've had more than others. So that's our job right now, to build them up. What I like about that is we get so tied up in third time through the order penalties for starters. But with a reliever, if you pitch 2 innings, the odds of you facing a guy twice, not super high. I mean, if you're doing your job. So
unless you're just giving up hits.
Well, then, I mean, the whole thing's shot anyway. But I wouldn't be opposed to 2 innings and then a day or 2 off, back away from guys. It gives you it's probably easier to do, let's say, Justin Topa for 2 innings one day, Steven Okert for 2 innings the next day, and then Topa's back and ready for the day after that. Okert might be a break glass in case of issues, but I could get behind this just because the fact that you're not going to face any hitters more than once, or if you do, it's going to be pretty rarely.
It's sort of funny how far we've gotten away from the different kinds of roles and how pitchers filled them just even 10 years ago, maybe not even that long. It was nothing for a relief pitcher to go 2 innings, and all of a sudden became a huge deal. And I think a lot of it is mental. I don't know that pitchers have to just empty the tank for 1 inning at a time. I don't know if that's, even a good way to pitch necessarily. I don't know if that's your most efficient way to do it in the first place, but that's kind of what we've all kind of become conditioned to. So you look at the history of the guys in the bullpen, the Twins bullpen, who's recently gone 2 innings at a time, who's been a starter in their past. When you're talking about Duran, that's probably a guy where, if he goes 4 outs, that's a lot. And you don't want to do that too much. And maybe Jax is turned into a pitcher like that as well. But you got like Jay Jackson. Jay Jackson 4 or 5 times last year pitched a couple innings. And even, I think Rocco's even thinking maybe it doesn't have to be 2 innings, but maybe it can be 4 outs or 5 outs.
Mm-hmm.
Those little thirds of an innings can add up a little bit.
Well,
you have so many relief pitchers in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And the Twins, even with these injuries, have more depth than most teams. They're going to be able to make this work, I think, when if you need a guy for 2 innings and then you don't bring him back for a couple of days, they're still going to be okay. They're not going to be throwing some guy to the wolves that next day.
Yeah, and the game within the game is if you have a left-handed hitter 5 hitters away or 4 hitters away, you can have Okert up and getting ready to the point where if Jackson gets those 5 outs and then Okert gets the 6th, Okert doesn't have to pitch the full inning
right
to fulfill the rule. Let's take a quick second and give some love to Amazon Fire TV, and then when we come back, I have a couple different injury notes, or actually really just one. Former Twin getting sent back to minor league camp, and a lot of other stuff we're going to try cram into a very short space. So let's take a quick break. Amazon Fire TV is your destination for sports, and you get live game highlights or live games highlights, in-depth analysis, you name it. Fire TV has it. They offer amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs. And if you have a dumb TV, get a Fire TV stick, and it is just as good. You plug it in, and it gives you access to millions of movies, TV episodes, free and live TV. Again, you name it, they've got it. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball, the Soul Series that's going on right now, the college basketball tournament also going on right now, or NBA, whatever you want, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free, including us at Locked On. And most of the big pro leagues and college conferences are there as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest in the world of sports like March Madness, NBA, MLB, even some NHL as they come up on the end of the season too. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and your Alexa devices, because if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels yet, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. And with that, my Alexa has been triggered, tripped, whatever you want to call it. She is trying to get involved with the program. So
is Alexa trying to make this a 3-way?
Yeah, I guess so. Couple things we still want to get to. We talk about that bullpen, and it brings me to one of my favorite baseball phrases. Now, it makes me giggle when a game gets rained out and they say it gets banged, just because I'm 16 years old perpetually in my head. But when a guy gets up and doesn't get into a game, do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Should I say it?
Yeah.
That's called a dry hump.
The old dry hump, taking us back. Speaking of being mentally about 16 years
I
old
think
because
these phrases are made popular by old men who spend too much time hanging out in the bullpen, pretty
yep,
much.
the arm barn. Yeah, so it's that just makes me laugh. By the way, speaking of something that makes me laugh, Garrett Crochet starting opening day for the White Sox. Sounds like they're going to do him in like 4-inning bursts. Do you feel like that's something that could take off? Because the Twins, about 10 years, it was 2013, because I remember I bugged Terry Ryan about it every single day. They had signed Rich Harden, who I was convinced could make that work. 4 innings of him, 2 innings of another guy, and then boom, you're into your bullpen. Do you think that could become a thing?
It's funny. I think you're asking a question from like 2015 because
Yep.
I think we tried this, and maybe it wasn't Rich Harden specifically, but that was kind of a thing that was coming.
Didn't
And
the
then
Astros do that when they were first getting good? They were doing 3 innings at a time,
yeah,
piggybacking in the minors
right.
with like Mark Powell and a couple other guys like that.
I don't remember specific names, but I know because I'm on the spot and nervous. I'm not really nervous, but I don't remember specific names. But I know that's a thing.
Yep.
So I guess you never know, but it would be like a comeback of something that never really got going. I don't know. Crochet's. You're talking about the White Sox. I don't know if we're putting innovation and the White Sox in the same box right now. Crochet is a guy who is very talented. Was a starter in college. Immediately went to the bullpen because I think that's what the White Sox needed at the time, and maybe they were easing him in.
Yep.
And then he got hurt anyway. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Starters are trending downward anyway. Are we going to get down to 3 guys? I mean, how many guys can you have on a pitching staff? You can only have 13, right? So you can't just have endless pitchers. And at some point, you're going to need a guy to go 5 innings. Probably need like 3 guys to go at least 5 innings. So I don't know if the math works out on this.
Yeah, it very well might not. Hey, JD Martinez has a new home, and he got $12 million, which at this point in the spring, I'm a little shocked. I thought he'd have to settle for 6 to 8, but good for him. He's going to be a Met.
They could use the Thunder. He certainly amps up the luxury tax issues. So the Pirates are going to pocket some of that money and not put it back into the team. That's pretty much what's going to happen now.
Same as it ever was. But yeah, I'm pleased to see that he's finally landed. Now we got to get Brandon Belt signed because Brandon's shoes and Brandon's socks need to be provided for. Oliver Ortega. What's that?
What about Brandon Pants?
My wife used to be nicknamed Mandy Pants at her old job. So beats me. I don't know why. Oliver Ortega had loose bodies surgery. That's in his elbow. It's not, he's not wiggling or whatever, but he'll miss 3 to 4 months. Briefly a Twin, just news purposes. Andrew Vasquez, who is the scariest human being I've seen in a Twins clubhouse since John Roush. Minor league camp for the Tigers. He's got this 1,000-mile stare where he looks right through you. And
That's
I said,
I'm frightened right now just looking at you.
I said that to somebody who is his teammate, and they're like, dude, he's the nicest guy ever. So,
right.
But Keston Hiura sent back to minor league camp for the Tigers. He had a really nice spring. I feel like the White Sox should have signed him. Again, I know they don't have plate appearances at DH necessarily if Eloy Jimenez is going to be there a fair amount, and Andrew
He's
Vaughn.
got a sore foot, by the way. He came up lame. So
usually, yeah, and Andrew Vaughn at first base. But hey, Keston Hiura, put him in right field. It's not going to be any different than they've done in right field the last half decade or so. But yeah, just a guy who I'm keeping an eye on as a post hype sleeper.
All right, fine.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm a believer or not. I think he's 4A. No offense, Keston.
He's on a 4A. Yeah, no, I think you're probably about right there. 15-11. San Diego wins in the Seoul series, evens it up at a game apiece. How much of that did you catch? Because I was following it on Gamecast after I dropped the little man off at daycare, and boy, I tell you, it was like a pinball machine.
I didn't see any of it actually. We're all sick in this house, and so we were up late. I didn't catch the beginning of the game. I saw on Twitter Yeah, there are a million people up, and Shohei grounds out to short and blows a chance to tie the score. So, I mean, that's the worst thing that'll happen to him in Seoul, probably not coming through with people on the bases. So
What's
that's all I know about the game, really. And it was
what-
15-11, and Robert Suarez got a save, and that's good for my fantasy team. And I know everybody cares.
somebody on my score sheet got Robert and Ranger Suarez, and I was like, well, if you get AU Eugenio, you can really complete the trifecta. What is the latest? We got about a minute and a half here that you have heard on Ohtani. Again, I know they're trying to say it's no big deal, but the more they say it, the less I believe it.
Well, the only thing that I heard, and I didn't get to read the story, was another ESPN breaking a little more news on it, saying the Ohtani's people are really encouraging the FBI to investigate the fact that money was taken from Ohtani's account without his doing or his not at least direct knowledge. So they're playing that part up. Not so much the part about Ohtani repaying any debts, but that money was moved without his consent. So yes.
How soon are you expecting some resolution on it?
What is this? March 2025. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. It's going to be a while.
If the Dodgers don't win 110 games, I think it's going to be some stupid storyline like, oh, it was a cloud over the team or whatever, or when they invariably lose in the playoffs to the Reds or some dumb thing. It'll be kind of like that. But Dave, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And if you're listening and or watching, thanks to you as well. This has been Locked On Twins. We're so happy you were here. For Dave Brown, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow night.